Alright, what's going on everyone out there on YouTube, NES Ruler, and welcome to a brand new series of reviews. And this time around we'll be checking out the Basket Case Trilogy. And you can pick up Part 2 and Part 3 on Blu-ray from Synapse Films on August 9th. And they sent me these to review, so I figured why not go ahead and do a trilogy video. You know, my good friends Moodz and JP did a episode of the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror about the Basket Case Trilogy. I think it's episode 77. And as you guys know, I can't unfortunately be on the show anymore. So I know a lot of people would be interested to hear what my thoughts are on the films, considering we spent so many hours together talking about films. And you all know we all have different opinions on things. So I thought it would be a really interesting companion piece to go along with that show. So let's, of course, hop into the original Basket Case from the year 1981, directed by the legendary low-budget director Frank Henenlotter. And what I love about Henenlotter and William Lustig also is the fact that they're able to make like time capsules types of films. That they're able to take a part of history, in this sense, New York City in the early 80s, and make a film that shows what it was like to live in New York City in this time period, and I loved it. Lustig did the same thing with New York. You know, he just showed the city in the dark and the gritty and the nasty parts of New York City, and Henenlotter does a really, really great job with that as well, and that's why I think I love his films. And as you guys know, I just reviewed Dr. Butcher and Zombie Holocaust, and on that release, there's a lot of extras about 42nd Street, and there's a shot in this film that's just absolutely awesome, and it shows 42nd Street perfect. You know, we have Dwayne, who's our main character, walking down 42nd Street, and Henenlotter's obviously in the car, and it's just a tracking shot of him walking down 42nd Street, and you see all the theaters and things like that in the background, and I love that part. It's just an absolutely, definitely my favorite scene of the film, and it's, you know, it's one of the first, simply because of the fact that you can't see that stuff anymore. And if it wasn't for, you know, Henenlotter shooting this footage, you know, I don't think there would be that much great footage of 42nd Street around. So, of course, everybody knows the story of Basket Case. Followed Dwayne. Dwayne is a guy who carries his basket around, and inside is his Siamese twin, Bilal, I'm going to fucking mispronounce it, and which of course means the devil in Bible terms. And he carries them in this basket, and they have a mission to murder the doctors that were responsible for this operation, because their main goal was to kill Beatles in general and just have Dwayne live a happy and full life, and that of course pissed both of them off. So now they were on a journey to go out and try to kill the doctors who were responsible. And along the way they move into this hotel, and the hotel is where the movie shines for me. The tenants who live in this hotel are just absolutely amazing. Each one has a interesting and different trait to them that I wish like we would learn more about who each one of these characters are. You know, they're just so interesting to me. And you know, just they're different kinds of people, and even though we don't spend that much time with them, you know, you feel like you know them, and you connect with them. And I especially connected with the manager of this hotel. You know, I don't know why, but he's like one of my favorite characters that I've watched in a while. You know, he's this big, heavy set guy, and you know, he just spews out funny lines. You know, he's calm when shit goes down, and then when he gets out of where the things were going on, he blurts a funny line, and he made me laugh every time. And I don't know why I connected with him, but, you know, it's unfortunately he died from a heart attack, and I can kind of see why, because in this film there's like 4 flights leading up from the lobby of the hotel up into the upper area of the hotel, and he runs up and down these stairs all throughout the film, and I go, it's no wonder why the guy had a heart attack, you know. You know, there's me with my shitty asthma thinking, oh man, I don't know how that guy did it. So it's unfortunately he died at a young age. But, you know, besides that, I think the main part of this film that everybody talks about is the kills and the gore. It's low budget cheesiness, but the gore's there, it's fun, it's over the top. The kills, the actors who are getting killed, you know, just overly extreme reaction, and everybody, you know, knows, you know, the scalpel kill. You know, that's probably the most famous kill in this film, and it makes no sense. At least I think it makes no sense what the hell is happening, because her head was going in this drawer full of scalpels laid on their side. How the hell are they popping up on their face like that? But, you know, that's just part of the funny-ass part of the film. And then there's this scene in the middle of the film that's totally different. And this is a flashback where we learn about Dwayne and his brother's past. And it feels really, really off from the rest of the tone of the film. And it's kind of placed in a weird spot. I don't know why it's placed at that point. I guess because Helen Lauder is trying to get some explanation about what happened between these two, and that was the best spot for it to fit. But I think it could have been placed somewhere else, a more respectable place. You know, I think it's definitely one of the highlights of the film. And I just feel like it was placed in a weird spot, but it hasn't hurt it or anything like that. I just feel like it could have been placed earlier on in the film. But like I said, besides that, you know, Basket Case isn't just an absolute, you know, classic cult low budget film. It's one everybody's seen. You know, the creature is legendary. That's another thing. The stop motion in this film is awesome. You know me, I'm a huge Pee-wee fan, and the stop motion in this reminds me just of Pee-wee. Really, really great. I love those stop motion scenes also because there's not that many in there. So overall, that's my thoughts on Basket Case. Transfer, it looks really good. Everybody probably knows now about this release. You know, it's restored enough to make the film look great, but it still has that grainy, low-budget 16mm fun to it. And then we have a bunch of features on here. A new video introduction by Helen Lauder. It's like 3 minutes. It's okay. And then we commentary by them, and then some more outtakes and behind the scenes, and then TV spots, radio spots, and a short. So, you know, basically it is just a really, really great film. I really, really enjoyed that. But will that be my thought for Basket Case 2, though? Let's find out in a few seconds. So stay tuned for my thoughts on Basket Case 2, and I'll talk to you guys in a second. So stay tuned. Basket Case 2 coming up on this review. So I'll talk to you guys in a second.
This time, he's not alone.
Alright, welcome back everybody. I hope you enjoyed the first section in this 3-section overview of the Basket Case trilogy. And now we will be moving on to the second film in the Basket Case trilogy. And I just want to say right now that I am sorry with my amazing name pronunciation skills. You guys know me. I am absolutely horrible with names, saying names, pronouncing names, everything that has to do with names. I'm absolutely horrendously terrible. And I know I've said Frank Henenlotter's name wrong. I probably just said it wrong right now. I probably know I did, but I'm absolutely horrendously terrible with names. So I apologize. You know, if you love Frank, or if you love these films and I pronounced anybody's name wrong, I apologize. And that's going to keep on going on because I'm just really horrendously terrible with names. And I'll poke fun of myself during the first section with captions about me not being able to say names. But we're going to check out now Basket Case 2 from the year 1990. And I know Basket Case 1 came out in 1982, and in the first section I said 1981. I just go by the year that the film was shot. The film was shot in 1981, released in 1982. So that's why I said 1981. So now we have Basket Case 2, like I said, from the year 1990, which is 9 years past the first Basket Case, which is weird that our good friend Frank decided to come back to this franchise, 9 years after he shot the first film. And I think to myself, why did he decide to come back to this franchise? He was pretty far along at this point. He pretty successful, Frankenhooker and things like that. He has definitely advanced as a filmmaker from the first film to this one. You can definitely see that. While the first one was, well made for a low-budget horror film, this one has a lot more things going on, bigger budget-wise. You could definitely tell. So I always thought, why did he decide to plunge money into this film? And the third one, we'll get into that. But why did he decide to plunge money into this film instead of a different project? And, the first Basket Case ends in a way that's similar to the second Planet of the Apes film, which I just watched recently, that it has an ending that it's done, You see what happens at the end of the first Basket Case, and you think, oh, that's it. There's not going to be another sequel, it's complete. And then he comes up with this, and it's like, that's, I guess, it's anything, with any franchise, that there's some way to bring back a character and things like that. So, is this film good? No. You know, a lot of people talk about this film, you know, how different it is from the first film, and it is completely different. And I'll get into that in a second. And I know some people just absolutely were disappointed when they saw this film for the first time. And, you know, I was too, you know. I didn't really think that that they could top the first basket case, and you know, I was right. And I think the one thing that goes on with this film that's really great is the creatures. And there's a whole boat of different creatures in this film. I'll get into the plot in a second and what these creatures entail. But there's just a whole bunch of different and unique creatures that are a good friend, Mr. Frank, brought to life. And there's just a whole bunch of different masks and makeups and things like that. You could totally tell it cost, you know, quite a bit of money to do all this makeup and prosthetics and things like that. And it really pays off. You know, the creatures look cool and awesome and definitely are the highlight and the only reason why you should watch this film, because the plot and what goes on is completely nonsensical bullshit. You know, not bullcrap. I'm going to say bullshit that has really nothing to do with the first basket case film whatsoever. So the film takes place right after the first film takes off or leaves off. We see Dwayne, who just got left, you know, shot out of a hotel window, which on the back it says a hotel window. I mean, a hospital window, and that's totally wrong. You know, I laughed at the back has a mistype. I'll read it to you right now. It says, after surviving a fall from a hospital window, the two brothers become immediate targets, and that's absolutely incorrect because they fell out of a hotel window. So hopefully Synapse fixes that, but the film, like I said, takes place right after the first film leaves off. We see Dwayne and his brother laying on the street after falling out of a window, and of course they're not dead, and they both wake up, and Dwayne wants to move on with his life, and his brother is still angry. So they escape the hospital, and they come across supposedly their aunt's friend from the first film named Granny Ruth. Granny Ruth is an interesting type of a character. She is a person who brings in all these different kind of freaks from around the world, and that's where you get these kind of different creatures. And we kind of learn a little bit why Granny Ruth is like this. You know, she had a daughter that was supposedly a freak, but that's the only thing we hear about why she likes to bring in all these different freaks who don't get accepted into society. And then we get like this tabloid story with this newspaper and this reporter that's obsessed with trying to find Dwayne and his brother, and it's like, what? Why? What kind of plot is this? You know, it's nonsense, and it really has not. You know, it's more of a comedy film than the first film. And you know, the first film had some comedy in it, but I feel like it's trying to play off a straight comedy in this one, and that Frank was just trying to show off his makeup and his creatures, and this was the way to do it, and it unfortunately falls flat because, you know, I wasn't checking my watch, but I was bored halfway through the film because I was like, where is this going? This is not going anywhere. I don't really care. I just want to see more creatures. And then at the end, we start to see a lot of creatures. I was like, this is pretty sweet. But besides that, you know, the film really doesn't go anywhere. It's just this reporter trying to hunt down Dwayne and Granny Ruth and her, you know, misfits of freaks. So, you know, really didn't like this one very much. I know people are saying that I'm going to even hate the third one even more, but I'm going to go into it with an open mind. But I have to say the only reason why you should watch this film is if you're into special effects, makeup, creatures. You know, there's some really just fantastic creatures in this, and the cover shows that. But overall, I would pass on this one. It's not very good. But like I said, the transfer is absolutely gorgeous on this release. I don't know if it shares the same transfer from that Basket Case Steelbook that came out a few years ago from the UK, but I gotta say the transfer is just absolutely gorgeous in this on this release. It looks so good. There's a little bit of grain, but besides that, the colors really, really, really pop, and it looks really, really nice. And I'm surprised, you know, with a film like this, I would have thought that the film would have looked similar to the first Basket Case, where it's really grainy and doesn't look very good. But this film looks really, really, really solid. And with all the different kind of makeup going on with the creatures, it really, really looks great. So that's a thumbs up on this release alone. You know, if you're into these films, this is definitely the release to get because of the transfer. But then we really don't get that many special features in this. We have a interview with one of the creatures, Half Moon, and then we have a behind-the-scene featurette about the makeup artist, and that one's really the main feature on this, learning about all the makeup and all the creatures, because like I said, there's definitely a lot on here. And then if you don't like this cover art here, you could reverse it for the original poster art that everybody knows and loves. So overall, not a fan of Basket Case 2 compared to the first film. But that's to be expected. You know, I've heard a lot of negative things towards that film and a whole bunch of negative things towards the third one. So who knows? But we'll see where it goes. Hope you guys stay tuned for the third and final section of this review. And I shall talk to you guys in a second. So please stay tuned for the finale in this awesome Basket Case trilogy video. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Belial, one of the most popular figures in horror film history, returns in this masterpiece of the outrageously macabre. Basket Case 3, The Progeny.
Alright, welcome back everybody to the third and final section of the Basket Case trilogy reviews. I hope you guys have been enjoying the video so far. And now we'll be checking out the third and final film from the year 1991, which is 1 year later, which is extremely surprising because our good friend Frank Henenlotter, amazing name pronunciation, made only 6 films in his entire career, and 3 of them came out between 1990 and 1991. Of course, Frankenhooker, which he shot in 1989, but it came out in 1990 because of MPA stuff. And then he made Basket Case 2 and then Basket Case 3. So half of his films came out in within 2 years, which is really interesting. And then, this is his last film up until Bad Biology, which came out, in 2008. So he likes to take long breaks between his films. So Basket Case 3, like I said, from the year 1991. So how does this pair up to the second Basket Case film, which, as you guys know, I extremely disliked story-wise. The creatures were cool, like I said. Story-wise, it was absolutely a complete and garbage plot. Basically just reporter tries to find brothers, the end. That's basically the entire plot. At least this one, has a little bit more of a plot. And the same creatures from the second film, but there's some more creatures, and I'll get into that in a second. But at least there's more of a plot in this one. So this one picks up a few months after the conclusion of Basket Case 2. Dwayne's in this fucked up mental state because he pretty much sewed his brother back onto the side at the end of the second film, and he's still recovering from this mental state. In the meanwhile, Belial is having kids from this other similar creature type woman named Eve, who's very similar to him in body statures. They look exactly the same. At the end of Basket Case 2, you could see him screwing, and you could tell where it was going to go. So this film picks up. Eve's ready to give birth to these kids, and basically they have to go on a road trip. Granny Ruth, who once again shows up, and the creatures have to go on a road trip to this special doctor who also has a son that's a freak to perform the the birth of these babies. And along the way, they meet the sheriff, and the sheriff's nice at first, but then they're out for him, and of course people are still trying to hunt down the brothers because of this report that was the news reporter that was written in the second film. At least it has continuity, sort of. And as time goes on, things happen between the police and the creatures and things like that. So besides that, it's not really much going on, but at least this one's more developed story-wise. It's not as bland and boring. At least there's some fresh stuff. The kids, the babies are cool and things like that. And the creatures, have a little bit more personality in this one. In the second film, JP said that they look like Tim Burton ripoffs. And, I say that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it being Tim Burton ripoffs, You could tell that Frank Henenlotter had $2.5 million for the second film and this film. And I think he was so used to making low-budget films that he had no idea how to make a film on that big of a budget. So he decided to throw in all these weird and unique creatures that were similar to Tim Burton's type of makeup and creatures. So I was like, that's nothing wrong with ripping off Tim Burton, because everybody rips off everybody at some point or another. And this one, they have more personality than they did in the second film. He didn't just make unique creatures. He put a different kind of personality into each one. And if you pay attention between the two films, you could see what each creature's personality is based on different kind of things that they do, what each one likes to eat and drink, and their different hobbies and things like that. So they're not just throwaway characters. Each one has a different kind of traits to it. And I kind of compared them to the tenants in the first film. They're really, really interesting. And that's what I have to say about these three films. The secondary characters are just as interesting as the two brothers. And I really applaud the writing in that sense, because the characters throughout the entire trilogy are really, really great. But besides that, there isn't really much more to say about Basket Case 3 besides the fact that it's better than the second one, but not by much. But it's still, a trilogy that I think you should probably check out once. I don't see myself rewatching these again, but at least I watched them once and I enjoyed them for what they were. This release from Synapse is kind of lackluster. The only feature on here is a trailer, and I know there's other features out there on this film. If you look at the old, I know I have it here somewhere. Let me pull it out. Ooh, stick. The old 20th Century Fox release. This has no features either, but I know like the Region 2 release has some features and things like that. But this just has the trailer, and that's unfortunate. I wish there was some more features on this one. The first two films have some sort of feature, so it's unfortunate. But the transfer, just like the second film, is really, really solid. I think it's a little bit less vibrant and popping as the second film. But I still feel like the transfer is really, really good for this kind of film. And it's probably the best the film's ever going to look. So if you're really into these films and you didn't pick up that UK Steelbook, I would definitely pick up these releases. Because, like I said, they're never, ever going to look better. So overall, I really found this trilogy to be an extremely goofy and insanely over-the-top type of films that I usually expect from Frank Henenlotter. So I guess I'll rate them, since this is kind of a companion piece to the episode of the 22 Shots of Movies and Horror. So Basket Case 1, I'll go ahead and give this film a 7. I was going to say 7.5, but I'll bump it up to an 8. I was thinking about it for a while if I was going to give it a 7.5 or 8, but I'll go ahead and bump it up to an 8. I think it's a really fun and great low-budget film from the early 80s. And then Basket Case 2, definitely the worst one out of the three, but that's not saying much because the third isn't really that great either. But this one I'm going to give a 4.5 out of 10. There's just enough stuff in there to make it fun, the creatures and everything like that. So Basket Case 2, I'm going to give that one a 4.5 out of 10. And then Basket Case 3, just a half point higher, 5 out of 10. Just average for me, but it's still a fun and over-the-top film. So I hope you guys have enjoyed my Basket Case trilogy review. If you guys did, please give a thumbs up and let me know. This is more of a sophisticated review that I've done in the past. I've put time and effort putting images and things like that into the review to give it a little bit more watchability factors, something interesting and stuff to you to see what I'm talking about. So let me know if you like this kind of review, and maybe I'll do more on that. But until then, thanks everybody again for watching. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's twitter.com/NESRuler22. I'll talk to you guys probably in about 3 to 3.5 weeks, because I'm shooting a feature film starting in August, so I'm going to be busy for quite a while, so I won't be posting any videos or anything like that. I have a day off, so I may do something on that day, but we'll see. I'll bring my camera along just for shits and giggles, but we'll see. So thank you again, everybody, for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. See you guys.